Radiant Living Center. So good to see everyone. I see some hands waving on Zoom. It's good to see faces. Tonight we have Lisa can't talk. Lisa Wetzel is going to be giving us some spirit message from the Akashic records. We appreciate any donations that you can make to help with the center and be able to support Lisa and all of our recordings that are going on. You can make a donation on the website, radiantlivingok.com. It's on the home page under Lisa's last video. There's a donation box, and you can just fill in the amount that you would like to donate. You can also donate through PayPal at Radiant Living Center OK Gmail. And then if you want to do Cash App or Venmo, it's under my name, Joyous Melody. It's good to see all of you, and we'll turn it over to Lisa.
Hi everybody, it's so good to see you guys, and like I said, I'm so happy to see faces. This is harder to do when you don't know anybody's out there, so I'm happy to see you. This is going to be an interesting night. The topic, I decided that we have all had enough of the coronavirus information. I think everybody should be overloaded by now, so we're going to do something different. And for those of you that have been to my classes before, you know that what I do is I ask for the Akashic Records to provide a subject for me. And so they give me the message and the subject, and then I follow up with the questions. And they have given me a load of questions tonight, so I've got a lot of questions to ask. But what I would like for you guys to do, if you have any questions that pertain to the subject, which I'll give you in just a minute, I found that it's easier if you type in the questions as we go, and then if we have time, then I'll answer the questions as we have time. So, what the subject is. The subject is the soul's relationship with humans, and the reason why this has actually really resonated with me over about the last 7 or 8 months. I feel like there's a lot of shifting in humans that they're recognizing more that we actually do have a soul, which I know that sounds silly, but I think that as a human, we're told that we have a soul, and that the whole story that the soul comes down and it's enveloped into the body, and we all human beings have souls. But I think where the problem and the disconnect is that we believe that we have a soul, but we don't truly know that we have a soul. We're not, our mind and our body and our presence and existence don't actually feel that soul that resides within each one of us. And I truly believe, and I'm speaking from my own experience, I know that for myself, I have recognized that I'm becoming more familiar with my soul, and that it is within me, and that the shifts and the changes that we are going through, that so many people have talked about for so many years, about the dimensional shift and the energetic changes, and what we're going through, especially just over the last couple of months, is breaking down the barriers that are causing our minds not to remember who we are and to become connected to that soul in a way that we never have before. Everything is shifting and changing, and this is where we're headed. So, the message that they gave me is the soul's relationship with the human is based on the establishment of the soul residing within the human. What we will discuss is the soul's influence, impact, and guidance it provides for the human being in which it resides within. The relationship between the soul and the human is an iffy one. If you like your soul, you will reside well. If you don't, your soul will give you discomfort. What the soul's purpose is and providing information to the human is to help guide the human through trials and tribulations in order to achieve the mastery of its cause. We will discuss the many aspects of this relationship and how it works for you as humans. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to ask is just simply, what is the message that the Akashic Records wants to provide on this subject at this time? What we want you to know is that your lives are being changed dramatically. What you're recognizing is that there are shifts and changes that are occurring within you. However, you're not fully aware of what barriers are being broken and to what extent your life is changing. What we are gaining is the understanding that you as humans are you are stubborn ones. And you stubborn humans like to fight and to resist when it comes to letting go the thoughts of the mind and the ego. What we want you to know and what we want you to recognize is that as you resist less, you'll become more familiar with the freedom that the mind can provide through the consciousness of the soul. And as the soul resides within each one of you, you'll become more aware that the soul is your friend. It is a person that you are aware of, however, you have kept it a distance. And what we are creating within you is that ability to become a friend on a one-on-one basis. And what I'm seeing is two people holding hands, like you're standing together holding hands. What this friendship will bring to you is a truer understanding of who you really are and what God has given you in order for you to exist on this plane of being, which is meaning the earth. What we want you to recognize is that you have the ability to be fully conscious of what you can create with the understanding and the acknowledgement of one's soul. And as the soul is present within all beings, they fail and they resist what is the truth that resides within. And this is what the guidance is that we will be giving you at this time in order to move forward. What we want you to recognize is that the freedom that you can assist in is simply letting go of thoughts and preconceived ideas as you once knew. As the law of attraction allows you to be free, you yourself can be free within one's own thoughts. And those thoughts must be set free in order to gain the consciousness of the universe that resides within. And what they're talking about is, our minds create the barriers. And a lot of times the barriers that don't allow you to be fully connected with one's soul or one's true being is beliefs. And those beliefs sometimes don't allow you to be fully, they're saying fully ingrained in all that is. And what we want you to know is that you have the ability to lower those barriers if you choose to do so. But you ask, what will happen if I do so? What will happen if I let go of the mind's thoughts and the beliefs that once were true to me? And what we say to you is that you will be set free in a way that you cannot understand or comprehend at this time because you have never done so. But what we ask for you to do is take a chance. Take a chance and allow yourself to let those barriers go and just see and observe what happens, what changes that occur within you, and how your beliefs and acknowledgments shift and change into the future. You'll find more peace, you'll find more connectedness, and all that travels throughout, which what I'm seeing is like it's all that travels throughout the universe, which I'm seeing like the energy patterns, stars, connectedness, all living things, everything that is connected, you'll become more aware of. You'll find the understanding that your heart is true and that your heart guides you in a way that you have not understood before. As the heart and the soul are interconnected, it's the knowing of the unknown being that resides within you. And so what they're saying is that the heart knows the soul and the soul knows the heart, and the heart and the soul are interconnected as one. But what the heart knows is the soul. All you know is what the heart says. And what this connectedness is that as you begin to recognize the true feelings of your heart, when you really begin to recognize that your heart is guiding you, you'll gain another understanding that within that heart guidance, the soul is guiding the heart. So it's like a chain reaction. So you have the soul over here, and then you have the heart, and then you have the human. And as the soul notifies the heart sends off the signals for the human to interpret or to receive. And as that happens, then you begin to recognize that you're all tied in together as one. And that's what's occurring. And this is what you'll become more aware of as you move through this process. And they're saying it's your turn.
Okay, the first question is, why did you choose this topic to discuss at this time?
We feel like this topic is of the utmost importance in order for one to gain the prospects of the future. If the future is unknown to you and you allow yourself to stay status quo, you will no longer move forward into the future as we wish for you to do. This is an important topic as you need to become aware of where your heart is and what actually governs your heart. You'll begin to become more conscious of what steps to take forward as you stand in truth with what you truly know, and it's those feelings that reside within your chest, not necessarily in your mind.
Question number 2, what is the relationship between the soul and the human it resides in?
The soul is the guidance. The soul is the knowing factor of all that is. And as the soul moves forward on its journey, it encompasses and it recruits. It recruits the heart's knowing. Okay, so what I'm seeing, it's almost like there's two different consciousnesses. I say plural consciousness. So you have a consciousness that's in the soul and you have a consciousness that's in the heart. And as they intermingle together, the soul notifies or communicates with the heart. And as the heart receives the messages or the signals, then the heart transmits the answers and the problems to the human. And the way that we receive that is through our bodily functions. Like even like when you get nervous and your heart starts beating faster and your body starts reacting to it. Or you feel a little nudge that your heart's saying, oh, I need to go this direction. And then when you go this direction, it feels good. You feel a sense of peace for a choice or a decision that you've made. That's the communication that's going on between the soul and the heart, and as the heart guides the human. The problem is with this is simply the mind, and the mind is the root to all evil. The mind has a tendency to dissuade the knowledge of the heart into going into a different direction. And basically, we all understand that. Your heart may be guiding you in a direction or taking you someplace, and the mind says, I don't want to do that, and so I'm not going to, and so that changes. It's resisting what the heart is telling the human to do. And this is where the mind comes in, and where it's the root to all evil, because what it's doing is obviously it's taking us as humans off our track of where we're supposed to be going, or where we're being guided to by a force, that is much stronger and more powerful than what we truly are. But the mind is so powerful that it can create any situation to occur. And so what I'm seeing, it's almost like duality. You've got the good guy over here, which is the soul and the heart, and then you've got the bad guy, and I'm seeing like cowboy hats. This is the white hat, and this is the black hat. And this is the brain. And so the brain has a tendency to be the bad guy, and that's where we as humans get in trouble by not listening necessarily to the heart and to the soul.
What are the aspects of the relationship with the soul and the human?
The soul, again, I guess this is going to be the theme. The soul is the guidance. If you guys aren't picking that up, okay, this is about the 5th time I've said that, I think. The soul is the guidance to the heart. And as the heart communicates with the human must listen to those words. And it's not necessarily words, but you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm hearing there needs to be more clarity on this. And what we're saying is, at this time, you have the understanding that the heart is communicating to the human. But what you don't understand is that the soul is communicating to the heart. The heart and the soul, working together as one, sends messages and impulses to the human body. The human body either chooses to resist or they choose to accept. The acceptance will help the human to be guided into a path of least resistance. And as you resist less, life becomes more simple. It's more easygoing. Things flow more fluidly. It's more peaceful. And this is what we want for you. As the soul guides the heart and the heart guides the human develops that relationship one-on-one with that connectivity. So what I'm seeing is that once we kind of let go of our mind, subtly, obviously it's hard. It would be hard just to walk away from your mind and then just rely specifically on your feelings. And they're laughing and saying that's not so. So obviously that was me saying that, not them. And what they're saying now is that it's easy to let go of the mind. I'll just allow yourself to do so. And as you do so, you'll find the answers more easily. And the relationship is that the relationship with the heart, the soul, and the human has got to be where the human will allow the assistance of the heart and the soul to guide them through the daily process. And this is where we are at this point. Did that answer that question?
Okay.
Kind of, sort of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of these kind of overlap, and I think the next one does too, but let me read it. What is the experience the soul must have in order to proceed on the human level of consciousness within the human?
Oh, the soul has to have cooperation. In order for the soul to move forward into the future, the soul and human cooperation must work together. If the human chooses to resist the soul's flavor, I don't know where that came from, which the soul's flavor basically meaning what it intends to do. So if the human resists the soul's flavor, the human creates obstacles in order for the soul to have to go through in order to complete its journey into its next transition. Where we cause obstacles in humans is that situations are presented in front of them. Okay, so we get tested on a daily basis by the universe. And as we have obstacles that are put in front of us, we can either choose to just plow into them and cause a big train wreck, or else we can choose to handle them or go around them easily. And what we choose for you to do is to handle the situation more easily. And this is where the soul resides within the human. As the human is presented with obstacles, the soul gives guidance through the heart to the human. Where the problem comes in is that when the human decides it knows more than the heart, and then the heart is basically placed on the back burner, and the human mind chooses to delve forward. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of times what causes these problems is that the human mind is so wrapped up in surface issues, things like greed, lust, self-centeredness. They're using the term egoic activity, and which the ego encompasses a lot of things, but this is more self-centered ego. And as they have an obstacle put in front of them, and their ego chooses to go in this direction, the ego can easily choose a path that can cause more corruption in the human if they choose to listen to what their mind tells them to do. If there's a point where the human can step back and truly listen to their heart as their soul speaks to them, they'll recognize that there is a path or a better way to get around the situation. It's almost like you take a smooth walk around the problem instead of trying to just barrel right through the middle of it and then have the whole thing blow up. And what we want you to recognize is that there are so many obstacles that are put in a person's life that they don't always see that they're there. As the human creates the barriers that are being broken in ways they can't understand, we create the illusion that things may be easier if they don't listen to what their heart is telling them. And simply using the term, a person getting heartbroken. How many times a human has said, well, I'm totally in love with this person because my heart feels it. And then they get into the situation and the relationship ends, and so then they're heartbroken. So as they're heartbroken, they choose not to ever listen to their heart anymore. So they're creating barriers that are blocking the truth from being revealed to them. And what we want you to do is to recognize when these barriers are false. And that's an example of a false barrier. And as you work through the barriers that are false, you'll begin to find true meaning of what truly does lie in your heart. And you'll find a simpler path, one that would make it easier for the human to be able to move forward. But what you ask is, what is the relationship for the soul to be in the human? As the soul's growth is significant in moving forward into the future, the human must create the opportunity for the soul to grow. If the soul doesn't grow in the way that is most meaningful or purposeful for its own advancement, then the soul will leave. And the soul will leave the person, the human, on their own. Basically, they'll leave them soulless. The soul will no longer reside within that human. And as that soul must continue its own path, it's almost like it's two separate beings. Like we have the human being and we have the soul. And we as humans never see this as two separate entities. We always kind of assume that we always have a soul. We have a soul that resides within us and that it can't come and go. But what's being said is that that's where the human consciousness needs to come in and recognize that the true journey of the human is the soul. It's the life of the soul, and that's why we humans are put here on Earth. It's for the soul existence of the soul. You guys remember that? that's profound knowledge there. But the soul has to grow, and if the human, and I'm adding in there, if the human due to free will chooses to disrupt the pattern of the soul, then the soul will have no choice but to leave and reside within another that can create a better pathway to its own existence. And then at that time, if there's another soul that needs the experience that the human is having, then another soul will come in at that time, or some time in there. So I think it's important, and this is me talking, but I think it's important for us as humans to recognize that we have a greater purpose than, and I'm just a big flux of emotion. We have more of a purpose than just being who we are. We are not living on earth just for me, just for us. My real true existence is for my soul, for the soul that has chosen me to be. Oh wow! Sorry guys, I'm having a little epiphany apparently. The reason why we exist on earth is to create the environment for the soul to grow. If the soul can't grow and advance, then we as humans no longer serve that purpose, and therefore the soul will be removed. So I think it's very important which is where I was going before I got interrupted with my own emotions. I think it's important for us as humans to realize that we're not living on earth only for us and for our own selfishness. The soul can exist without the human, but the human can't exist without the soul. And I think that this is extremely important for us humans to recognize and to realize, because I'm sure that we've all had those moments that we think this is all about me. It's all about me. I'm on this earth, I'm breathing, I'm living through this experience, and it's all about me, Lisa Wetzel. It's all about me. But there's a time where you can step away from that, and I can look within myself and realize that, no, I'm here for that existence of the universe that resides within me, the soul that resides within me. This is why me as a human is on this earth. That's why I'm here. And I think that I'm going to back up, because I'm changing my language. I know that when I become aware of my soul, and that my soul is existing within me, and I'm serving my soul, that changes my attitude. That changes my understanding of why I'm here as a human. And I can say that for my journey specifically, that's where I am today. I've had the ability to recognize my soul. I've had the ability to develop a relationship with it. And I know that from the experience that I've had, I see much broader than I ever did as just simply thinking I'm a human and I'm just existing on this earth only for me. I recognize that I'm a part of all. I recognize that I'm a part of the universe. I recognize that there's so much more than just me. And what me as this little soul human being on this great big huge planet is here for is to serve a higher purpose. And I'm choosing to do that. And that's where I am today. And I don't know why I went on that big rampage, but there you go. So we're going to go on to the next question now.
Okay, next question. What did you mean earlier when you said, if you do not like your soul will give you discomfort?
Yeah. Okay, as the soul receives resistance, and it's kind of like what we just talked about. If the soul is guiding you as a person, as a human, and the soul is guiding you in the direction that will create growth and understanding, and you keep jumping into your mind, and your mind just keeps creating barriers that you just keep hitting up against brick walls one after another, that means that you're fighting your soul. And that's what we're saying. So repeat the question again.
What did you mean when you said if you do not like your soul will give you discomfort?
Okay, and this is what they're referring to, is that if you choose not to develop a relationship with your soul and you are so strong-minded or strong-willed, however you want to say it, and you have to do things your way, your mind's way, you don't like your soul. And this was their interpretation of you don't like your soul. And so because you want to resist everything that you're being guided to do, that's where the chaos starts. And that's where the problems start, because they're using the term you don't like your soul. And so because you don't like your soul and you don't want to develop a relationship with it, or you want to ignore it, you're gonna have problems in your life, and you're gonna create more chaos.
And so the reverse of that, what did you mean when you said if you like your soul, you will reside well?
Okay, so if you develop the relationship with your soul, and what I'm seeing, I'm seeing myself actually hug this big ball of light and acknowledging that this is my soul, and that I acknowledge that you are within me, and that I honor you, and I exist within you. Then you become more open to listening to what your soul is saying and following the direction that soul is guiding you in, which creates more peace and more love and more happiness. And that's where the path becomes more smooth. So when you like your soul, things will become easier. And I hope that that's a good explanation.
Okay.
Easy enough.
What is the guidance the soul provides for the human in which it resides?
The guidance in which the soul resides is everything. Everything that is. That's including the steps you take, the walks you walk, the drinks you drink, the food that you eat, all the relationships that you reside within. The soul creates all of your desires. The soul creates all of your aspects that create the creations around you. So what like with the food you eat, it's like your soul creates what your body needs, the nourishment, the food that would bring you the most happiness and give you that highest vibration. And recognize that we're not all the same. We don't all eat alike, because we're all different, and we all have different needs and desires, and the soul's consciousness is different in all, and so the soul needs different things. And as we have vegetarians and vegans and carnivores, the meat eaters, there's a reason for all. And with the acceptance of understanding that as the mind is released, okay, and they're using this, they're saying that different eating habits or diets are what we would all understand, and that's why they're using this as an example. What the soul needs may be different than a different soul. And so when the soul says, I need this experience in eating vegetables, then that's what the soul creates the desire in the human to lean more towards that way of life. Or if that soul needs to eat more animals for whatever reason it may be, then it's going to direct that human in that way of eating more animals. And so they're saying, and so we ask you as humans to be easy and be gentle on those that are different than you, as they all have different needs. Understand and accept that all desires are driven from the core, as if a human chooses to listen. The other thing they're bringing back is where, when they were talking about the soul guides you, it guides you in the steps you step. And what they're saying is that if there's a certain place that you need to go, or you need to see, or you need to be at, then the soul is going to gently take you whichever way, or direct you down that path. And so all of the examples that were given to you are based on the understanding needs of one individual soul over another. And as the soul needs to grow and take its path, as the human releases its mind and becomes more understanding of what the soul needs, the path will be lived.
Okay. What is the soul's influence on the human?
Life. and we'll leave it at that, because I think we've been talking enough about that already. Don't you think?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of it overlaps, but that's great. What is the impact of the soul on the human?
Once again, we're repeating the same story as you have already heard. The soul's growth is within the human, and the human's acceptance and understanding of that soul is the power and the impact that it would have on the human as it shifts and changes into the future.
Good. How is the soul evolving within the human body?
The soul is allowing itself to take place in a new way, shape, and form. And as the human vibration is shifting and changing, the growth of the soul that resides within the human is changing. It's becoming on a higher level of consciousness. And so what I'm understanding is that, like, through all of these transitions that we've been through over the last several years, as the human vibration rate increases, the soul's vibration rate the soul's vibration rate increases. And what this does is it creates the environment for the soul to become much more than what it's ever been in the existence of humankind. And so what it's doing is that, again, and I'm speaking from my own myself in the way that I've understood. When I went on my journey and trying to find myself and find the spiritualism that resides within me, it's always been about me. It's in my head. It's always been about, well, this is the person that I want to become, or this is what resonates with me, or these are the things that I want to shed in order to be able to become this person. And as my body shifted and changed and released these things, it raised the vibrational rate. And so what that was doing is was creating the environment for the soul to become who it truly is. As the soul has to increase its vibration to exist on a higher level of understanding or higher existence, it needs the human to cooperate in order to help that happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
How is the soul creating the environment for human growth?
It's shaking us to our core, and I see what's going on right now. It's almost like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make sure that you guys understand money's not everything, that there's a point where you have got to start caring about the earth and the environment, one another, live in love. The soul, and I'm saying, this is kind of funny. I'm seeing like this line of souls, and I see these souls in these little ball of light, and I'm seeing all these balls of light that are all lined up, and they're vibrating at a super, super high rate, and they're saying, we told you this was coming. It's shifting and it's happening now, and this is what we're creating for you.
Cool.
Yay!
How is the universe transitioning the soul within the human?
As the soul transitions, the humans transition, and as the humans transition, the souls transition. I think that's self-explanatory.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've already kind of gone through that.
Yeah. Does the soul choose the human, or the human choose the soul?
The human chooses the soul in the sense that the human has a specific body, lifestyle, and currency that it's living in. What is currency? They're using currency as like a monetary, as money, like different income levels, like poverty level or the rich. And what desire the soul has is to be born into the creation of the human. Okay, so let's say that the mother and the father, they have a baby, and this baby is born into this situation. And the soul's looking and says, okay, the body's already there, that life and that existence is already there, and that's where I need to be. So does that make sense that the body is calling the soul into it because of the circumstances that that body's in?
Yes.
Okay, so ask me more questions about it.
So when does the soul enter the body, after it's born or
Oh, I don't want to go
before?
there. I'm not going there. No, you guys,
Okay,
sorry, I'm not.
a little
that's
beyond
gonna,
that,
will
but that
be
was
too
where
much
my question was.
controversy. I'm not
Sorry.
even going
Sorry.
there.
But I do understand that the
Okay.
soul then chooses the
Yeah,
whole
the
situation.
situation.
The situation. Okay.
So like the situation is already in existence, and then
Got
the soul chooses the situation to go into.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
I won't take you down that road if you don't want to go there.
I don't want people hanging up on me right now.
Okay.
We got a little bit more to get.
Another day.
so.
Another day.
Yeah.
All right. Can the human soul come and go out of the human body?
Yes. Yes. And it chooses to leave when needed, and it chooses to come back when needed. It can alternate universes. It can shift patterns. It can go in any direction needed at the time. Okay, so what my question is that if the soul leaves the body, and it's because I don't even know how to ask the question, because what I'm seeing is that I can see how a soul can leave a body if it's a bad situation and the soul's not growing, and then the person is sitting there soulless, and they're basically living in their head and going on in their head, making their choices and decisions, just from what they see on this earthly plane. And I'm feeling my own fear going, I don't want to live without a soul. I want that guidance. I want something there to direct me down the path. So what my question is if a person if a soul would leave and a person is residing without a soul, is it a bad reason why the soul left, because they couldn't exist because that person was doing something bad, or what would the circumstances possibly be if a soul was to leave? And what the soul has done is it's transitioned into a new form of life or existence within the human body in another form. Okay, you need to ask me a question about that, because I don't understand that.
So, my first question is, can you give me an example of when a soul, or why a soul would leave a body?
Okay, when it has gained all it needs to know, or when the existence of the human body is not assisting in the growth.
And then the other question would be, then where does the soul go when it leaves the body? Are you saying into another body?
It can go. Okay, now I'm getting it. It's almost like it can go out into the universe, and it's like it just. What I'm seeing is that it just like blows up into billions of different particles, and that it can just go out there into the universe, and it can exist on any plane or any level or anything that's out there, until it gathers itself back together to create a new form of life. Okay, a new form of life. And the reason why I don't understand that what they were saying when they were saying that is because they can form many lives. It doesn't have to be a human life. It doesn't have to be a life that we comprehend. It can be all kinds of different forms of life. Okay, now I understand what I was saying. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Well, I think we might have already answered the next one. I hadn't looked ahead. Why would it choose to do so?
For growth.
Okay.
Growth and understanding.
Okay. How is the heart related to the soul? I think you've kind of already answered that one too.
And what I'm feeling, it's one.
Okay.
It's one, and it's intertwined together as one.
Okay. You've already answered the last one. How is the heart intertwined with the soul?
Okay. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, do you guys have any questions? And if you do, you can type it into Facebook, and I think you can also type it into Zoom.
Yes, go into the chat box.
Yeah. You guys have to have some kind of question, because I don't even understand what I was saying.
Well, here's a couple of questions. Why, it was said earlier that we're tested daily by the universe. For what purpose? Why is this necessary?
for growth. It's growth for the human consciousness and the growth of the soul's consciousness. They reside as one in the sense that because we're still working together. You know, it's still like the soul and the human we're still one. You know, even though it's like there's two separate entities, but we're still together as one, working as one. And that's where it has to mesh. Okay.
Okay. We have the question, how do we reclaim our soul?
Oh, that's a good question. You call it back. You ask for it to come to you and to become known to you. What you have done. Okay. I don't know who asked that question, but apparently the records do. And this is what they're saying to that answer. What you specifically need to do is to recognize that you have a soul, and that soul is important to you, and to recognize what you want to do with that soul. And if it is a path that you choose to go down that will work in conjunction with where the heart and the soul reside, then you will simply find that you have returned back to your place of existence. It'll just come back to you without, it's not like you're gonna be like you're gonna get struck by lightning and then all of a sudden it returns. It's gonna be a gentle thing that all of a sudden you recognize that you're at peace once again. There were times in your specific life that you have struggled, and you didn't like where you were, and you blamed God for that. And as you move forward into the future, you are going to recognize that you were at fault in believing that was so. And as you begin to do so, you will soon see that your path is residing within you, and that you will soon walk clearly. And anyway, so whoever asked the question, I think that was directed at you, and I hope that wasn't too much information.
April's got her hand up, but I don't see a question.
Okay, April, did you have a question? We didn't see it typed
I will
in.
have to unmute
Can
April.
almost mute it,
Oh.
yeah.
If you want to ask it out loud, or you can chat it in. Let me see if I can.
Hey, April.
Hi.
There
Hi,
she
there
is.
you
I'm
are.
ready on the chat.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
There's several questions on the chat.
Okay, apparently we can't
There
see them.
is.
Dang it.
Okay, we're not seeing
Yeah.
them. Okay, hold. Oh, there are. Maybe.
There are. Okay.
Okay, there are 9 questions on the chat. Sorry, April. Thanks for letting us know.
Okay, so April, since we have
You're
you,
welcome.
since you're talking, do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
Or read
What
one of them.
happens to the human heart when the soul leaves?
Oh, it gets sad. That's interesting. That's a good question. It becomes the normal human heart. It resides in the plane of existence with the human presence. And what I'm seeing, like almost two different. I see a heart that when the spirit's in it is a light bright. It's a light pink heart, and then when the soul leaves, it turns to a darker brown. And it becomes the normal mechanism that helps the body just to function. It functions only. And I'm hearing the thing, has anybody ever heard the saying, have you lost your heart? And if you have, then that's what those words are referring to. Your soul left, and your heart is just existing as that mechanical being. I mean, it's just helping. It's just pumping blood. It's not giving you the impulses and the knowledge and the knowing that it would with the soul being in existence. Does that help? She left again.
She unmuted.
Okay.
So the next question is, what is the difference between your higher self and your soul?
The higher self is another form of consciousness that resides above you on a different plane or a different level of existence. The soul resides within you and is within you from the very beginning until the very last days of death. If the higher self okay, because I didn't know this. You have a level of consciousness that resides within you, and they're using the head as the example. You have a form of consciousness and you have your soul. Those are two separate things. Your higher self is part of the form of consciousness. It's not, and like what I'm seeing is like this is your consciousness, and the higher consciousness is up here. And when you bring the higher self down, it comes down into form the full consciousness. So it's two separate things from the soul. It's the soul and the consciousness. They're separate. Okay, does that make sense? Okay.
So our next question says, how does the body exist without a soul when the purpose of the soul is being in a body and experiencing all the spectrum of emotionality?
The body, it can exist upon its own self without a soul easily, as it does on a daily basis. There's thousands of people millions, trillions of people that walk around without a soul. The human body doesn't have to have a soul to exist. That's not the case. And actually, both entities can survive separately, easily. However, the human creates the existence for the soul in order to advance. Okay, so what happens? So the human body, it's almost like a robot. A robot can function and do its things as it normally would do. But then when you put a heart into it, and you put blood into it, and you put lungs into it, and you put a brain into it, it starts becoming more human. Okay, so a human body can work like a robot, and the soul put into the human creates it in that same scenario, if that makes sense. And the soul does not have to have the human, and the human does not have to have the soul. They're two separate entities that reside in one. Ask the question again.
How does the body exist without a soul when the purpose of the soul is being in a body and experiencing all the spectrum of emotionality?
Okay, so that's not exactly right. Okay, so that's what I explained, is that the soul, okay, so the soul doesn't have to have the human to exist. The soul resides on all different planes of existence. The soul chooses to use a human as a device in order for self-growth. Self-growth. Yes, the tongue is in the self-growth. Whatever, yeah, that. Okay, now I want to say this because I don't want to upset anybody. That question is something that came from an understanding that whoever wrote the question has. I'm not trying to conflict with the question. I'm just simply giving you the answers that's coming to me through the records. So please understand, I have no investment in this answer at all. It's just something that the records are saying, and that you can do whatever you want to with that answer. Okay. My disclaimer. I'm just the messenger.
Okay. I feel sad that my soul may choose to move on to other things. If the soul and the heart are intertwined, does the heart suffer when the soul leaves?
Yeah, and it was the description it was the description that I gave a minute ago of two separate hearts. Yeah, your heart wants your soul too. So we want that. That's a good thing.
How do you see more if there's more? You look at this one.
Okay, we're trying to figure out how to scroll the questions up. So.
Okay, so that was it. Okay, because I didn't think that was an 8 or 9.
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
I have, thinking back to my chair.
Okay, we have one more question. Just a second.
I've been in situations with healers or shamans when they say they've done a soul retrieval. Can you explain what that is, or to retrieve aspects of my soul? So what can you tell us?
The souls that are being retrieved in a spiritual way, such as a soul retrieval, are aspects of the soul. It's not the full soul. It's not the full complete. And I'm using the soul as, I just see it as a ball of light, and so that's why I keep referring to it. what I see as a soul is a ball of light with billions and billions of molecules that form that little ball of light. And each one of those molecules is an aspect of that soul. And so when we're talking, so when we were talking about that the soul can leave the body and then it can just dissipate, like it can just go out into the universe and just go into all these, billions of pieces all over everywhere. When a shaman is calling in the history of the soul or the soul particles, it's bringing in aspects of that soul. So it's not bringing in the full soul, but it's bringing in the parts of the soul that are currently needed in the human being at that time. That's good to know. I didn't know that. Good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that make sense? Okay, any other questions?
I have another one. Oh, go ahead.
Here's a question. What is the source of awareness?
What is the source of? Okay, that needs to be a more specific question, because awareness is so broad. What they're saying to me is that that's too broad. You need to be more specific in your question so we can be more specific in our answer. So what we're asking you to do is to reformat that question into something that's more narrow. Awareness, when you use the term awareness, that's huge. It's so broad and it encompasses way too much. So if you don't mind, just narrow the question down a little bit. Okay.
So this may be another question you don't want to answer, but the term oversoul, we have an oversoul. Can you explain what that is? Is that more pieces of our soul that are somewhere?
The oversoul is the existence of another layer of the universe which resides within all. Okay, so I can see this,
Okay.
but I'm not sure how I can explain it.
Okay.
Okay, so hang on.
Okay.
The definition of an oversoul is a soul that is lying above one another. What you are recognizing as the soul that reaches out to another is being called the oversoul. Okay, so is that other soul the same soul? Is it a different soul? It's another soul, and the term that you would use or understand, it would be like a mother soul. So it's like a soul, and then it's a soul above that would be like a supervising soul. So it's like you have a soul that's in high school. They're saying, no, that's not the example. It's a mother. Okay, so like if the soul had parents, and the soul baby is like, this is the soul baby.
Okay.
And then the soul baby needed help from somebody else. They would call like the mother, the mother soul, to come in and give guidance or support or advice.